The sterile glow of the television screen cast long shadows across the penthouse suite, a space so vast and devoid of personal touches it felt more like a monument to wealth than a home. On the screen, a business news anchor spoke with practiced reverence. 5 years ago, the president of the formidable Bow Corporation was sent overseas to expand the corporation's global reach. Now, with Bow Corporation's businesses spanning across the globe, it is confirmed that President Bo Yahan will return home this week. Bo Yahan watched, his handsome face an unreadable mask of cold indifference. To the world, he was a legend, a king of commerce who had conquered international markets. But inside, a singular, relentless quest had consumed him for half a decade. He turned to his trusted assistant, his voice a low command that held the chilling weight of absolute authority. "Have you found the woman who saved me 5 years ago?" The assistant flinched. "I'm sorry, President Bo. 5 years have passed, and still, no trace." Yahan's gaze, sharp as a shard of ice, pinned the man to the spot. 5 years? And you can't trace a living person? What do I pay you for? He picked up a solid crystal paperweight, its heft a dangerous promise. "You have 3 days. Track her down, or report to HR for your termination." "Yes, sir. Mission guaranteed," the assistant stammered, scrambling out of the room before the CEO's controlled fury could fully unleash itself. Alone, Yahan's composure cracked, a flicker of raw emotion crossing his features. He remembered that night 5 years ago, in a haze of drugged confusion and mortal danger. He had been set up, a rival's clumsy attempt to neutralize him. He remembered a chaotic bar, the dizzying loss of control, and then a woman. A woman who had pulled him from the brink, her scent a clean, calming anchor in a sea of peril. In the aftermath, before an emergency call from his company forced him to leave the country abruptly, he had pressed a unique, custom-made watch into her hand. "Wait for my return," he had vowed. "I'll make things right." He had searched for her ever since, a ghost he was determined to find, a debt he was bound to repay. Miles away, in a cramped but cheerful apartment filled with the vibrant chaos of childhood, Su Ningning expertly bandaged a small, scraped knee. "There, all better, Dabao." "Mommy, you're the best!" Her son, Dabao, beamed, his face a perfect, miniature replica of the man she was trying so desperately to forget. "Mommy, I'm hungry!" Erabao, one of her twin daughters, declared, tugging on her sleeve. "Me too," chirped Xiaobao, the other twin. Ningning smiled, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten in the face of her 3 beautiful children. They were her world, the unexpected, miraculous result of that one terrifying, confusing night 5 years ago. A one-night stand with a stranger she had helped, a man whose face was a blur but whose intense presence was unforgettable. He had left her with nothing but a ridiculously expensive-looking watch and a promise to return. He never did. And she was left to raise their 3 children alone. Life as a single mother and a budding designer was a relentless struggle. Every penny was counted, every moment accounted for. But looking at her children, their bright eyes, their startling intelligence, their uncanny resemblance to each other and to the faint memory of their father, she felt a fierce, protective love that made every hardship worthwhile. She was their fortress, their provider, their everything, and she would let nothing and no one harm them. Unbeknownst to her, the past she had tried to bury was now a juggernaut, hurtling back towards her with all the force of a corporate takeover. The lobby of the Bow Corporation headquarters was an intimidating expanse of polished marble and cold corporate ambition. Su Ningning clutched her portfolio, her heart a nervous drum against her ribs. This was it. A position in the design department of Bow Corporation was a dream opportunity, a chance to finally provide a stable, comfortable life for her children. She had poured her soul into her designs, her talent, her only weapon, in a world that often judged her for her circumstances. The interview room felt more like an interrogation chamber. A panel of 3 interviewers sat before her, their expressions ranging from bored to openly disdainful. The one in the middle, a woman named Lin Xiao, eyed Ningning's simple attire and the single line on her resume under marital status with a predatory gleam. "Su Ningning," Xiao began, her voice dripping with condescension. "Your design portfolio is adequate, but your personal situation is concerning. A single mother? With 3 children, no less. How do you expect to handle the demands of a high-pressure job at Bow Corporation? Our designers often work late, travel extensively. Who will look after your brood?" The other interviewers smirked. The humiliation was a palpable thing, thick and suffocating. Ningning felt the blood rush to her cheeks, but she met Xiao's gaze head-on, her back straight. "My personal life has never affected my professionalism," she stated, her voice clear and firm. "My ability to meet deadlines and produce high-quality work is what should be under consideration. My children are my motivation, not my handicap." Unseen, in an adjacent observation room, Bo Yihan watched the exchange on a large screen, his expression impassive. Gao Rui, his assistant, stood beside him. "President Bo, this Lin Xiao is known for her abrasive style." Yihan raised a hand, silencing him. He watched Ningning's response, noting the quiet fire in her eyes, the dignity in her posture. He had already reviewed her portfolio. It was more than adequate. It was brilliant. Her designs were fresh, innovative, and possessed a depth that was rare in a young designer. They spoke of a talent that had been honed not in privileged art schools, but in the crucible of real-life experience. He watched as Lin Xiao and the others continued their condescending questions, trying to fluster Ningning, to make her crumble, but she didn't. She answered each question with a sharp, intelligent precision that slowly wiped the smirks off their faces. "That's enough," Yihan said into the intercom connected to the interview room, his voice electronically disguised but carrying an unmistakable air of finality. "Thank you for your time, Miss Su. We will be in touch." Lin Xiao looked startled, annoyed at being cut off. "But, President, we haven't finished our assessment." "You have," the disembodied voice replied, a cold edge to it that brooked no argument. As Ningning left the room, her head held high despite the ordeal, Yihan turned to his assistant. "She's hired," he stated. "Sir?" "But Lin Xiao and the panel..." The panel was assessing her character, not her talent. And she passed. "Inform HR. I want her to start immediately." "And Gao Rui," he added, his eyes narrowing. "Keep an eye on Lin Xiao. I don't tolerate vipers in my company." A few days later, a trip to the mall for school supplies turned into a fateful collision. Bo Yihan, looking to clear his head after a tense board meeting, was striding through the bustling concourse when 3 small children, moving with surprising speed, came careening around a corner. He managed to stop just short of colliding with them. "Watch where you're going," he began, his voice sharp with annoyance. Then he stopped. He stared. The 3 small faces staring back at him were identical and eerily, shockingly familiar. It was like looking at 3 miniature versions of himself, the same dark, intelligent eyes, the same stubborn set of the jaw. Dabao, the boy, recovered first. He looked Yihan up and down with a critical eye. "Hey, mister, you look just like the scammer in Mommy's photo." "Scammer?" Yihan repeated, utterly bewildered. "Yeah," chimed in Erbao, one of the girls, her hands on her hips. "The one who gave Mommy a watch and then ran away. Mommy said he's a big scammer who lied to her." Xiaobao, the other girl, whipped out a small, custom-built handheld device. With a few taps, a photo appeared on the screen. A grainy, candid shot of him from 5 years ago. "See? It's you. Where's our money?" Yihan was speechless. His mind, usually so sharp and analytical, was short-circuiting these children, this photo, the watch. It couldn't be. Dabao, a mischievous glint in his eyes, suddenly lunged forward and snatched Yihan's phone. "Give that back!" Yihan snapped, his CEO authority completely lost on the small boy. "Not until you pay up," Dabao declared. In a matter of seconds, with a flurry of taps that Yihan's own IT experts would have admired, the boy had bypassed his security protocols, found his contact information, and sent it to his own device. "There," Dabao said, handing the phone back with a triumphant grin. "Now we can find you, scammer dad." "Dabao! Erbao! Xiaobao! Where are you?" Su Ningning's voice panicked, cut through the air. She rushed towards them, her face paling when she saw her children accosting a tall, impeccably dressed, and dangerously handsome man. "I am so sorry, sir," she exclaimed, grabbing her children. "They can be a handful. Please, forgive them." Yihan stared at her, then back at the three small faces, then back at her again. The pieces of the puzzle were floating in his mind, refusing to connect in a way that made any logical sense, yet forming a picture that was impossible to ignore. This woman, the woman from the interview, the woman with the brilliant portfolio and the quiet defiance, she was the mother of these three children, who looked exactly like him. "It's fine," he managed to say, his voice hoarse. Ningning, mortified, quickly herded her children away, scolding them in hushed tones. "What did I tell you about talking to strangers?" "But, Mommy, he looks just like—" "Enough!" Bo Yihan watched them go, a storm of confusion, disbelief, and a terrifying, exhilarating suspicion raging within him. The search for the woman from 5 years ago, a search that had consumed his every waking thought, might have just ended in the most unexpected way imaginable. He had found her. And it seemed she had not been waiting alone. Su Ningning's first few weeks at Bo Corporation were a baptism by fire. Her talent, undeniable and sharp, was like a beacon, attracting both admiration and a venomous, festering jealousy. Lin Xiaoxiao, who had felt entitled to the senior designer position Ningning was clearly being groomed for, made it her personal mission to undermine her at every turn. The office became a battlefield of whispers, stolen ideas, and subtle sabotage. Ningning, the client for the Starlight project, specifically requested a revision. They need it by tomorrow morning. Lin Xiaoxiao said one evening, dropping a thick file onto Ningning's desk with a saccharine smile. It was well past closing time, and Xiaoxiao knew Ningning needed to get home to her children. Tomorrow morning? But the original deadline wasn't for another 3 days. Ningning replied, her brow furrowed as she scanned the complex revision notes. The client is king. Xiao Xiao chirped, her tone implying that a single mother like Ningning couldn't possibly understand the demands of their industry. If you can't handle the pressure, perhaps you should reconsider your career choice. Ningning said nothing, her jaw tight with resolve. She spent the night fueled by lukewarm coffee and sheer willpower, her mind a whirlwind of creative solutions. She redesigned the entire concept, not just revising it, but elevating it to a level of artistry and commercial appeal that was breathtaking. She submitted the final draft at 5 a.m, her eyes burning with exhaustion. Later that day, the news spread like wildfire. The Starlight client was ecstatic. They had not only approved the design, but had also doubled their initial investment in the project. The credit, however, was swiftly claimed by Lin Xiaoxiao, who presented the work as a collaborative effort under her leadership. In his penthouse office, Bo Yihan reviewed the security logs and internal email chains. His assistant, Gao Rui, stood silently. "So," Yihan said, his voice dangerously quiet, "Lin Xiaoxiao claims credit for a project she tried to sabotage, and my design department allows this to happen." "It appears so, sir," Gao Rui confirmed. Yihan's fingers tapped a slow, rhythmic beat on his polished mahogany desk. He wasn't angry. Anger was a hot, messy emotion. What he felt was a cold, surgical precision. Arrange a project review meeting for Starlight tomorrow. Ensure the client's lead representative is present, and make sure Su Ningning is there. The meeting was Lin Xiaoxiao's moment of triumph, or so she thought. She presented the designs with practiced confidence, basking in the client's praise. "An excellent presentation, Miss Lin," the client representative said. "Your team's vision is truly remarkable." "Thank you," Xiao Xiao beamed. It was a team effort, of course, but the core concept was something I developed after much deliberation. "Is that so?" Bo Yihan's voice cut through the room, his unexpected presence causing a ripple of shock. He had entered silently, his eyes fixed on Lin Xiaoxiao. "Miss Su," he said, turning his attention to Ningning, who had been standing quietly at the back of the room. "The initial concept sketches for this project. They have a very distinct style. Could you walk us through your thought process?" Flustered, Ningning stepped forward. She spoke about her inspiration, the technical challenges, the artistic choices she had made. She spoke with a passion and a depth of knowledge that was mesmerizing. The client was captivated. Lin Xiaoxiao's face, in contrast, grew paler with every word Ningning spoke. When she finished, Yihan turned back to Lin Xiaoxiao. "A truly fascinating process," he said, his voice laced with ice. "It's a shame your leadership seems to have involved little more than forwarding an email at 5 a.m. Gao Rui, effective immediately. Lin Xiaoxiao is terminated for professional dishonesty and attempting to defraud the company. Escort her out." The face-slapping was public, brutal, and utterly final. As Lin Xiaoxiao was led away, protesting and sobbing, Yihan's gaze met Ningning's across the room. He gave her a brief, almost imperceptible nod, an acknowledgement of her talent, a silent promise of protection. Ningning felt a jolt, a strange mixture of vindication and profound unease. The CEO's intervention had been a lifeline, but his intense, focused attention felt like a weight, a scrutiny she couldn't understand and didn't know if she wanted. The dismissal of Lin Xiaoxiao sent a clear message through the design department, but it also painted a larger target on Ningning's back. The vipers had been scattered, but the queen viper had yet to make her move. Ye Zixuan, the heiress of Ye Group and the woman who considered herself Bo Yihan's fiancé-in-waiting, saw Ningning not just as a workplace rival, but as a threat to her entire future. "Yihan, why are you paying so much attention to that single mother?" Zixuan whined, having cornered him in his office under the guise of discussing a potential partnership. "She's beneath you. She has 3 children from God knows who. It's a disgrace to the Bo Corporation to have someone like her in a prominent position." "My hiring decisions are based on talent, Zixuan, not personal history," Yihan replied, his tone frosty. "And Su Ningning is one of the most talented designers I've seen in years." His defense of Ningning only fueled Zixuan's jealousy into a cold rage. She saw the way he spoke Ningning's name, the flicker of interest in his otherwise impassive eyes. This was more than just professional appreciation. Zixuan, with the cunning of a spoiled heiress, decided that if she couldn't remove Ningning through professional means, she would do it through personal destruction. Her opportunity came during a company dinner. Ye Zixuan, a guest of honor, made a point of approaching Ningning's table. "Oh, Su Ningning, it's you," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I do admire your dedication. It must be so difficult, raising 3 children all alone. Tell me, who is their father? Or is that too complicated a question to answer?" The surrounding tables fell silent, all eyes on Ningning. It was a cruel, public shaming. Ningning's hand tightened around her water glass. Before she could speak, a small, clear voice piped up from under the table where her children were playing with a tablet she'd brought to keep them occupied. "Our father is more handsome and 1,000 times smarter than you," Dabao declared, his head popping up, his eyes, so like Yihan's, fixed on Zixuan with cold disdain. "And our mommy is the best designer in the world." added Erbao. You're just a mean lady in a sparkly dress, Xiaobao concluded with devastating finality. Bo Yihan, who had been watching from his table across the room, felt a fierce, unfamiliar pride swell in his chest. His children. They were defending their mother. He rose and walked over, his presence immediately shifting the atmosphere. Zixuan, he said, his voice deceptively mild. I believe my children have answered your question. Now, if you'll excuse us, my family and I would like to finish our dinner in peace. My family. The words hung in the air, a shocking, unambiguous declaration. Yi Zixuan stared at him, her face ashen. He had not only acknowledged the children, but had claimed them, and Ningning, as his own in front of everyone. He turned his back on her, kneeling down to speak to his children, his cold CEO facade melting away to reveal a tenderness no one had ever seen. He was a father. And in that moment, everyone in the room understood that Su Ningning was not just a talented designer. She was the untouchable mother of the Bo Corporation's heirs. The public declaration at the dinner had changed everything. The workplace bullying ceased overnight, replaced by fawning respect and fearful whispers. Ye Zixuan had retreated, humiliated, and plotting. But for Ningning, the event had only deepened the mystery of Bo Yihan. He treated her with a proprietary respect that went far beyond that of a boss to an employee, yet their personal interactions remained strained, charged with unspoken questions. The puzzle pieces began to click into place during a visit to his home. One of the triplets had a mild fever, and with Ningning stuck in a late meeting, Yihan had offered to take the children to his penthouse for a few hours. When Ningning arrived, frantic with worry, she found a scene of domestic chaos. The usually immaculate suite was strewn with toys. Yihan, looking slightly overwhelmed but happy, was attempting to build a complex Lego castle with Dabao. Erbao and Xiaobao were having a tea party with a collection of exquisitely crafted dolls. As Ningning was gathering their things, her eyes fell on a small, glittering object on the bedside table. It was the watch, the unique, platinum Patek Philippe he had given her 5 years ago. She had sold it long ago to pay for the triplets' initial medical expenses, a decision that had pained her but had been necessary for their survival. How did he have it back? Where did you get that? She asked, her voice trembling. Yihan followed her gaze. His expression became serious. I've been looking for it for 5 years. It was my father's. I gave it to a woman the night I was drugged, a woman who saved my life. He looked directly at her, his eyes searching hers for a flicker of recognition, of truth. Ningning felt the blood drain from her face. The stranger from that night, the man whose face she could barely recall but whose intensity she had never forgotten, was Bo Yihan, her boss. The powerful, enigmatic CEO of Bo Corporation, and the father of her children. It can't be, she stammered, backing away. The room seemed to tilt. Why did you sell it, Ningning? He asked, his voice soft but persistent. I needed the money, she confessed, her voice breaking, for the children's medical bills when they were born. His eyes widened, the final piece of the puzzle slotting into place with devastating certainty. 3 children, born roughly 9 months after that night. The coincidences were no longer coincidences. They were facts. They're mine, he stated, his voice a hoarse whisper. It wasn't a question. It was a realization, a reclamation. Dabao, Erbao, and Xiaobao, they are my children. The air crackled with 5 years of unspoken truths, of separate struggles, of a shared past that had just violently collided with their present. The foundation of Ningning's carefully constructed world had just been shattered, and in its place was a truth so overwhelming, so life-altering, she didn't know if it was a dream or a nightmare. The Bo Corporation's anniversary gala was the most anticipated event on the city's social calendar, a sea of glittering gowns and razor-sharp smiles. For Su Ningning, it felt less like a celebration and more like walking into a gilded cage, the bars forged from the resentful glares of her colleagues and the pointed whispers that followed her every move. Since Bo Yihan's public defense of her and the children, she had become an object of intense speculation, a puzzle the entire company was trying to solve. Her success in the design department, undeniable and brilliant, only added fuel to the fire. Yi Zixuan, ever the gracious hostess on the surface, greeted Ningning with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Ningning, I'm so glad you could make it. You look lovely." It must be so hard to find the time to dress up with everything you have on your plate. The backhanded compliment was delivered with practiced ease, a silken dagger veiled in politeness. "Thank you, Miss Ye," Ningning replied, her voice calm and professional, refusing to show any weakness. "It's an honor to be here to celebrate the company's success." Lin Xiaoxiao, who had somehow managed to cling to a lower-level position in another department after her public disgrace, sidled up beside Zixuan, her expression a mixture of malice and sycophantic support for the heiress. "Ningning, you should really thank Miss Ye. She was the one who insisted to President Bo that all employees, regardless of their level, should be invited." Ningning saw the trap being laid. They wanted to isolate her, to paint her as an ungrateful upstart who didn't belong. She knew this evening would be a trial. What she didn't know was the depth of the venom Ye Zixuan had prepared. Zixuan, her jealousy festering into a desperate obsession, had concocted a plan she believed was foolproof. She would not just humiliate Ningning, she would destroy her, once and for all, in front of the one man whose opinion mattered most. "Ningning, you look a little pale," Zixuan said later, approaching her with 2 glasses of champagne. "Here, have a drink. It will help you relax." She offered one of the glasses, her smile unwavering. Ningning hesitated. "Thank you, Miss Yi, but I don't drink." "Oh, don't be like that. This is a celebration. Just 1 glass, as a toast to the company." To President Bo, Zixuan's insistence was a red flag. From across the room, Bo Yihan watched them. His eyes narrowed. He had been keeping a discreet watch on Ningning all evening. He knew Zixuan's character, her capacity for petty cruelty. This overt display of friendliness was completely out of character, and it set his internal alarms ringing. Zixuan, seeing his watchful gaze, pressed the glass into Ningning's hand. "Come on, Ningning. Don't be rude." Just as Ningning was about to politely refuse again, one of the triplets, Xiaobao, who had been brought along and was being looked after in a nearby quiet room, ran out, tugging on her dress. "Mommy, Dabao is being mean to me." The distraction was a godsend. Ningning put the untouched glass of champagne down on a nearby table to tend to her daughter. "What happened, sweetie?" Zixuan's eyes flashed with annoyance, her plan momentarily thwarted. In that split second of distraction, she subtly switched Ningning's untouched glass with another one from a passing waiter's tray. It was a seamless, almost invisible movement. When Ningning returned after settling her daughter, Zixuan was still there, smiling. "Children, they can be such a handful. Now, where were we?" "Ah, yes, our toast." She gestured towards the glass Ningning had set down. Feeling the social pressure and not wanting to cause a scene, Ningning relented. "To Bo Corporation," she said, taking a small, polite sip. The taste was slightly off, but she dismissed it as an expensive vintage she wasn't accustomed to. It was a fatal mistake. Within minutes, a dizzying wave of heat and confusion washed over her. The room began to spin, the lights blurring into long, distorted streaks. She felt uncoordinated, her thoughts scattering like smoke. "Are you all right, Ningning?" Zixuan's voice seemed to come from a great distance, laced with a feigned concern that was utterly chilling. "You look terribly flushed. Perhaps you've had too much to drink. Let me help you to a room upstairs to rest." This was it, the core of the plan. Zixuan would lead the drugged, disoriented Ningning to a private suite where another man, a paid accomplice, was waiting. They would stage a compromising scene, and Zixuan would accidentally lead Bo Yihan to witness it, cementing Ningning's ruin in his eyes forever. Bo Yihan had seen the glass switch. His mind, trained to detect the slightest anomaly in complex financial reports, had registered the flicker of movement, the almost imperceptible exchange. He didn't know what was in the glass, but he knew Zixuan's intentions were malicious. He watched as Ningning took a sip, and his heart clenched with a cold dread. He saw the subsequent flush on her cheeks, the confusion in her eyes, and knew he had to act. As Zixuan began to lead a stumbling, disoriented Ningning towards the elevators, Yihan moved. He was not a man given to public displays of emotion, but the sight of Ningning, so vulnerable, so clearly in danger, ignited a cold, protective fury within him. He intercepted them, his presence an unyielding wall of ice. "Zixuan," he said, his voice dangerously soft, "where are you taking my designer?" "Yihan." Zixuan feigned surprise. "Ningning isn't feeling well. She's had too much to drink. I was just taking her to a suite to lie down." "Is that so?" Yihan's gaze shifted to Ningning. She looked at him, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and a desperate, drug-induced plea. I don't feel well," she slurred, her words barely coherent. He gently took her arm, his touch steadying her. "Then I will take care of her," he stated, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Gao Rui," he called to his assistant, who appeared instantly at his side. "Escort Miss Yi back to her table, and have security analyze the contents of this champagne glass." Discreetly. Zixuan's face paled, her plan crumbling before her eyes. She tried to protest, but the look in Yihan's eyes, a look of pure, unadulterated menace, silenced her. Yihan led Ningning to his private penthouse suite, the one he kept permanently reserved at the hotel. She was barely conscious, leaning heavily against him, her breathing shallow. He laid her gently on the bed, his movements surprisingly tender. He saw the fear and confusion still lingering in her half-conscious state and felt a surge of rage towards Zixuan. As he was removing her shoes, one of the triplets, Dabao, who had followed them, unseen in the chaos, and was now hiding behind the doorway, sneezed. Yihan turned, his senses on high alert. Dabao, caught, stumbled into the room, a guilty expression on his face. In his hand, he clutched a tissue he had been using for a nosebleed from playing too roughly earlier. I was worried about Mommy," he mumbled. Yihan's gaze softened. He looked at the boy, his son, so brave and so concerned. He then looked at the tissue in Dabao's hand. An idea, cold and clinical, formed in his mind. It was the opportunity he had been waiting for, the final piece of irrefutable proof. "It's all right, Dabao," he said calmly. "Your mother will be fine. She just needs to rest. Why don't you wait in the living room? I'll get you some juice." As Dabao handed him the crumpled, blood-stained tissue to throw away, Yihan discreetly pocketed it. Later that night, after a doctor had been summoned to attend to Ningning, confirming she had been drugged with a potent sedative, Yihan stood by the window, gazing out at the city lights. He held a small, sealed evidence bag containing the tissue. He made a call. "Gao Rui, I have a sample. I want a paternity test done. Top priority. Absolute discretion. I want the results on my desk by tomorrow morning." The king had his suspicions, his circumstantial evidence, his gut feeling. Now, he would have the inescapable scientific truth. The reckoning was about to begin. The next morning, the report lay on Bo Yihan's desk. The words, stark and clinical, seemed to leap off the page. Probability of paternity, 99.999%. It was true. All of it. Su Ningning, the woman who had stumbled into his life 5 years ago, the designer whose talent had caught his eye, was the mother of his children, his heirs. A fierce, possessive joy, An emotion so powerful it almost staggered him surged through Yihan. It was immediately followed by an equally potent, ice-cold fury directed at those who had harmed her and his children. He summoned an emergency meeting of the board and senior management. The topic was deliberately vague, ensuring everyone, including Ye Zixuan's father, a minor board member, would be present. Ye Zixuan herself, as a guest, was also in attendance, looking smug, likely believing Ningning had been fired. Su Ningning, now recovered but still shaken, was also asked to be there, much to her confusion. The meeting began with standard corporate talk, Yihan's voice, a calm, steady drone. Then he paused. "There is one final matter to address," he said, the atmosphere in the room instantly becoming tense. "It concerns corporate ethics, professional integrity, and the future of this company's leadership." He looked directly at Ye Zixuan. "Miss Yi, you have been a guest and a prospective partner of this corporation for some time. You seem to have taken a particular interest in one of our designers, Su Ningning." "I was merely concerned about the company's image, Yihan," Zixuan said sweetly. "Hiring a single mother with a questionable background could be seen as a demonstration of our commitment to hiring based on merit, not prejudice." Yihan cut her off smoothly. "A principle you seem to find disagreeable." He then looked at his assistant, Gao Rui. "The results from the lab analysis of the champagne served to Miss Su last night." Gao Rui stepped forward, placing a report on the overhead projector for all to see. The chemical composition of a powerful, illegal sedative flashed on the screen. Ye Zixuan's face turned white as a sheet. "Furthermore," Yihan continued, his voice dropping, "we have security footage of Miss Yi orchestrating the drugging, as well as her subsequent attempt to lead a vulnerable employee to a room where an accomplice was waiting." He gestured again to Gao Rui, who played a short, silent video clip on the screen. The evidence was undeniable. "This is slander! It's a setup!" Zixuan shrieked, but her father, seeing the irrefutable proof, looked as if he was about to have a stroke. "But this is not just about professional misconduct," Yihan said, his voice resonating with power. "It's about a personal debt. 5 years ago, I was saved by a woman I have been searching for ever since. A woman I made a promise to." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room before landing on Ningning, who was staring at him, her heart pounding. "Last night, I finally found her. And I also found something else." He pressed a button, and the image on the screen changed. It was a photo of Dabao, Erbao, and Xiaobao, their 3 small faces, a perfect blend of his and Ningning's features. "Ladies and gentlemen," Bo Yihan announced, his voice ringing with absolute authority, "allow me to introduce you to my children, and their mother, my fiancée, and the future lady of the Bo Corporation, Su Ningning." The room erupted. The face-slapping was absolute, a nuclear detonation of social and professional disgrace for his enemies. "As for the Yi Group," Yihan continued, his voice like ice, "consider our partnership terminated, and expect a lawsuit for corporate espionage and attempted assault on my fiancée. I will personally see to it that your family is ruined beyond recovery." He then turned to Ningning, ignoring the chaos, the gasps, the frantic whispers. He walked towards her, his eyes holding only her. "I believe," he said, his voice now soft enough for only her to hear, "we have some things to discuss." The king had made his decree. The court was in shambles. And for Su Ningning, a new, terrifying, and exhilarating chapter of her life had just begun. The boardroom, once a theater for her public vindication, now felt like a distant memory. The real confrontation, the one that truly mattered, took place in the quiet solitude of Bo Yihan's penthouse suite, a space that now felt charged with 5 years of unspoken history. The triplets were asleep in a separate room, their peaceful breathing a stark contrast to the turbulent emotions swirling between their parents. Su Ningning stood by the vast floor-to-ceiling window, the city lights a glittering, indifferent tapestry below. The shock had begun to recede, leaving behind a complex cocktail of anger, hurt, relief, and a bewildering sense of dislocation. "Why?" she asked, her voice quiet but steady. She did not turn to face him. "Why the elaborate deception, Yihan? Why not just find me? Why let me believe for 5 years that I was alone?" Bo Yihan came to stand beside her, his reflection a dark, powerful silhouette against the glass. "Because at first, I didn't know who I was looking for," he began, his voice devoid of its usual boardroom authority, replaced by a raw honesty. "All I had was the memory of a woman's kindness, her scent, and a watch. The Bo family has enemies, Ning Ning. I was drugged that night in an attempt to compromise me. When I woke up and you were gone, my first instinct was that you could have been part of the trap." Ning Ning flinched. The thought was a cold splash of water. "I quickly dismissed it," he continued, sensing her reaction. "My intuition and the memory of your genuine concern told me otherwise. But the search was difficult. I was overseas, managing a critical expansion." The leads were cold. He sighed, a sound heavy with years of frustration. "When I returned and finally found you at the interview, I couldn't be sure. And then, when I saw the children—" He paused, his voice thick with an emotion she couldn't quite decipher. "I was terrified." This confession stunned her into silence. Bo Yihan, the untouchable titan of industry. Terrified? "Terrified of what?" she whispered. "Terrified that it wasn't true," he admitted. "And even more terrified that it was. Terrified that I had missed 5 years of their lives. Terrified that you would hate me for my absence, for my wealth, for everything that separated us. I saw how you fought, how you built a life for them with nothing but your own strength. To suddenly appear and declare myself their father, I feared you would see me as a tyrant, trying to take them from you." He finally turned her to face him, his hands gentle on her shoulders. "So I chose a foolish path. I wanted to get close to you, to the children. I wanted to understand the woman you had become. I wanted to earn my place. But I hurt you in the process, Ning Ning. My secrecy, my testing. It was a mistake born of fear and a long-forgotten hope. For that, I am truly sorry." Tears she hadn't realized she was holding back began to stream down her face. They were not tears of anger, but of a profound, heart-wrenching release. 5 years of loneliness, of struggle, of telling herself she didn't need anyone, had come crashing down. "I thought I was alone," she sobbed, her carefully constructed walls crumbling. "I thought he was a liar, a scammer, who had used me and disappeared. I hated him, and I missed him. How could I miss a stranger? I wasn't a stranger," he said, pulling her into an embrace, his touch both a comfort and a revelation. "And I never forgot you." Not for a single day. He held her, letting her cry out the years of pain, his own heart aching with regret and an overwhelming, fierce love. The storm had finally broken, and in its wake, the quiet, daunting task of healing could begin. Learning to be a family was not an instantaneous event. It was a series of small, awkward, and beautiful moments. Bo Yihan, the man who could command boardrooms and orchestrate billion-dollar deals with a single phone call, found himself utterly out of his depth when faced with the combined force of his 3 5-year-old children. Dabao, his son, was a miniature version of himself, brilliant, analytical, and initially suspicious. He would quiz Yihan on everything from quantum physics, gleaned from educational videos, to the intricacies of the stock market. "If you are really our father," Dabao announced one afternoon, his arms crossed, "then solve this logic puzzle." It took Mommy 10 minutes. Yihan, amused and impressed, would sit with his son, patiently working through the problem, seeing in the boy's sharp mind a reflection of his own. Their bond was forged over chessboards and complex Lego creations, a meeting of two fiercely intelligent minds. Erbao was his little princess, a whirlwind of pink dresses and dramatic pronouncements. She immediately assigned him the role of the king in her elaborate tea parties, demanding he drink imaginary tea from tiny porcelain cups and listen with grave seriousness to the daily gossip of her teddy bear entourage. It was a role Yihan played with a sincerity that surprised even himself, finding a strange joy in the make-believe world his daughter created. Xiaobao, the quietest of the three, was the most observant. She would watch him from a distance, her head tilted, before approaching to offer him a cookie or silently show him a drawing she had made. It was she who, one evening, crawled into his lap as he was working on his laptop. "Daddy," she whispered, the word a precious gift, "your face gets all scrunchy when you're thinking hard, just like Dabao." Yihan froze, then felt a warmth spread through his chest that no corporate victory had ever provided. He hugged her tightly, the weight of his empire momentarily forgotten, replaced by the simple, profound weight of his daughter in his arms. Su Ningning watched these interactions with a heart that was slowly, carefully mending itself. She saw the genuine effort Yihan made, the patience he showed, the unfeigned love in his eyes when he looked at their children. He didn't try to buy their affection with expensive gifts. He earned it with his time, his attention, his willingness to be a father. He was equally dedicated to her. He championed her design career, not by handing her promotions, but by creating a new independent design studio under the Bow Corporation umbrella, with Ning Ning as its lead creative director. "Your talent deserves its own stage, Ning Ning," he had told her. "Not one that lives in my shadow." It was the ultimate gesture of respect, an acknowledgement of her as an individual, an artist, and a partner. 6 months after the truth had been revealed, the scars of the past had begun to fade, replaced by the comforting rhythm of family life. The public was aware of their story, a modern-day fairy tale that had captivated the city. But for them, the most important work had been done in private, in the quiet moments of shared laughter and understanding. One evening, Bo Yihan led Ningning to the rooftop garden of the Bow Corporation headquarters. The space transformed into a breathtaking sea of starlit flowers. The city sprawled beneath them, a silent witness. "Ningning," he began, taking her hands, "our story began with a promise I made in haste and a watch I gave as a placeholder. For 5 years, it was a symbol of a debt I had to repay. But somewhere along the way, it became a symbol of a future I desperately wanted." He knelt, pulling out not a new watch, but a simple, elegant velvet box. He opened it to reveal a diamond ring, its facets glittering like the city lights below. "Su Ningning," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you are the most resilient, intelligent, and compassionate woman I have ever known. You built a world for our children with nothing but love and grit. You are not a damsel I rescued. You are a queen who saved me from a life of emptiness. The contract is long gone. Now, I want a covenant. Will you marry me, Ningning? Will you do me the honor of officially becoming my wife, my partner, my everything?" Tears streamed down Ningning's face, but this time, they were tears of pure, unadulterated joy. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Bo Yihan, I will." Their wedding was not the massive media spectacle the world had expected. It was an intimate affair, held on a private island, attended by their closest friends and his loving grandmother. The true guests of honor were Dabao, Erbao, and Xiaobao, who served as a tiny, impeccably dressed wedding party, showering their parents with flower petals and gleeful shouts. As Su Ningning stood opposite Bo Yihan, exchanging vows they had written themselves, vows of partnership, trust, and enduring love, she knew her life had come full circle. She was no longer just the bullied single mother or the hidden talent. She was a celebrated designer, a cherished partner, and the beloved mother of 3 incredible children, standing beside a man who saw and loved every facet of who she was. Their beginning had been a secret, their journey a storm, but their future, stretching out before them, was as bright and boundless as the open sea.